Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Newell. I work for SolidWorks in the product definition department. Been a SolidWorks employee since 2009. I worked on a SolidWorks PDM. In the last 4 years or so, I work on the X apps, X Design, X Mold, X Sheet Metal, all those, on the governance side. So therefore, you have this wonderful presentation today about managing your data. So let's get into this. This morning, we're going to go through basically 4 applications. And what I want you to get out of this is the basic understanding of when you use which one and what each one is good for. There's a fair amount of confusion about some of our apps. We don't, hey, when do we use this? When do we use that? And my goal at the end of this 45 minutes to an hour is you're going to walk out and you're going to say, hey, I know I got a plan, okay? We're going to get into some features, not too deep, but we'll get into the features in each. And then, maybe the reason you're here is how do we manage access to our data, right? That's going to be the sort of the main overtone to this presentation. So, what do we use to create data on the platform from a SolidWorks perspective, of course? We have X Design, Mold, Shape, Frame, Sheet Metal, and of course SolidWorks Connected. And then we have our X Drawing, which actually takes in data from those, and then we can annotate on them. So these are the major players in how we create data today. So the object types that are created, again, in X Design, Mold, Shape, Frame, and Sheet Metal, are a physical product. That's an object in the database, right? Physical product and 3D shape. So what is a physical product? Physical product contains all of the attributes of the object, or the document, if you will. And it also contains the structure, like the connections, the mates, that kind of thing. So, for instance, when you lock a 3D shape, you lock people out of being able to, or reserve it, being able to use your design. You just want to do it yourself. Essentially, when you lock the 3D shape, you'll be locking the attributes, and you'll be locking all of the mates underneath it, right? The 3D shape is the representation. The 3D shape is basically the geometry. All the geometry gets added to the 3D shape. Now, physical product does not have to have a 3D shape. You could have a physical product all by itself with no representation, no design, if you will. It's essentially just kind of an item from back in the day, contains all the attributes, and that's about it. So going through this, you probably have been through this many, many times, but I just want you to get a sense of what we're talking about. Otherwise, you would be kind of lost. So SolidWorks Connected is a little different. It has an added object called the CAD family, which is essentially the file. And the physical products are essentially the configurations. So you have the file that's kind of like the container, and all of the configurations are physical products underneath that. So when you actually go to design with SolidWorks Connected, and when you bring it into the platform and you save it to the platform, behind the scenes, the system is creating a CAD family object. In addition to that, it's creating physical product for your configurations. Now you take the design and you drag and drop and create an assembly. You're dragging and dropping the physical product into the assembly and creating essentially a product structure. And then we have X Drawing. Came online a couple years ago. X Drawing is a little bit different. So X Drawing is actually taking the physical product, bringing it into X Drawing, which gives you all of your your design information, and when you actually save that to the collaborative space, you create a set of objects, and the parent of it is the annotation set. And then underneath, you have the 3D annotations, save, use, PLM, layout and sheets and references, and that's what makes up an X drawing object or document. If you'd rather use the word document, that's fine. So, we don't have all day. We only have an hour, and I've selected these out of many applications on the platform. These are, in my opinion, by far the most popular and the well-used and the most needed applications. So you're probably well aware of 3D space. Some people love it and some people hate it. 3D space is essentially where you get your credentials to work. So every user on the platform always is connected to a collaborative space, which is created from the 3D Space app, okay? 3D Space, when you create a collaborative space in the 3D Space app, it's sort of a big bucket. And sometimes, people coming from SolidWorks PDM, they want to create collaborative spaces as if they're folders, which isn't necessarily what you want to do, and I'm hopefully going to kind of steer you down that road so you have a better strategy than having to manage many collaborative spaces and all the user credentials that go with that. Collaborative lifecycle, sort of a standalone lifecycle app. Lifecycle meaning revisioning, maturity, branches, information. All of that is in the collaborative lifecycle app. It's I would say, a one and done kind of app. You drag your objects into collaborative lifecycle, you do something with it, whether it's create a revision of it, share it, or whatever you may want to do. But after that, you're kind of done. It's not necessarily an application where you're going to organize your data. So you're going to, I think you're going to see that using 3D space and collaborative lifecycle together and not using Bookmark Editor, and we'll get into that, is a kind of a strategy that requires a lot of management and a lot of work, and you probably want to avoid it. At least that workflow. Bookmark Editor is the app that we use to organize data. Bookmark Editor has all of the tools that collaborative lifecycle has. It's easily populated by either saving from the application or dragging and dropping right from 3D space or any application. You'll see on the platform that drag and drop is the easiest and the most efficient way to get data into a bookmark. And then there's relations. We have to know the connections of all our objects. If you don't know that, you're kind of in the dark, right? So the Relations app is a very powerful app. Let's say the two main use cases for relations is where used, and the other way, SolidWorks PDM term, contains. All right, remember that? PDM people here? SolidWorks PDM? Contains. Kind of like that, right? That's basically what we're looking at. So these are the apps we're going to really get into today. So the first one is 3D space, and I could just do PowerPoint and I'd probably be more comfortable with that, but I'm going to risk it and do some live demo here, and you guys can all snicker and laugh when I make mistakes, but we're gonna show you the actual product and get out of PowerPoint. So 3D space is essentially an app on the platform, as you probably know by now. And inside of 3D space, you have the ability to create a collaborative space. So what is a collaborative space? A collaborative space is a big container that stores all of your data, but more importantly, it has your credentials when you're working on the platform, okay? So, yeah, it's right here. So, if I were to create a new collaborative space, give it a title test, you'll see you have types of collaborative spaces, right? The design collaborative space and the standard collaborative space. The design collaborative space is just that. Hey, we have a design and I want these people to work on it, right? But underneath that, you have the ability to have the private and protected. And protected is a little, it's a little odd. It's basically gives people, all people visibility in released and obsolete. You know, because that's really the two, well, release is certainly the state that people should be able to use the data. Otherwise, it's in work, frozen, right? Or it's in process. And then we have the other type, which is the standard collaborative space. And essentially, this is a public collaborative space. So what could be public? Public is probably stuff that doesn't have any real intellectual property sort of value to it. You know, you wouldn't put your prized design for the entire company probably to view. It's, you know, nuts, bolts, things that you would want to reuse and so forth. The thing about the public, standard public, is that data is found through search. So you would go and search for data, and that's how you would find that. And like up here in the chart, right? The protected, the released and obsolete, these are maturity states. I'm familiar with these on the platform. We have these: draft, in work, frozen, released, and obsolete. And the protected, like I said, it's private until it gets to released and obsolete. Okay. Now we'll get into adding members. So this is where you get your credentials to work on the platform, or at least in this 3D space. You have to be connected to one 3D space on the platform, otherwise you can't do anything. And these are the permission levels that we provide. Contributor, and I actually have a pretty good write-up, I think, about this in here. I thought I did. All right. So contributor basically lets you view the data. It lets you instantiate the data in an assembly, use the data, right? Author is just that. Author, you can create data in the collaborative space. So contributor, you're using it, you're seeing it, you're using it. You're not doing any edit actions, and your life cycle maturity is very limited, cannot release and such. And then you have leader owner. Leader owner is interesting. Leader owner in this application is connected. The leader of the collaborative space is almighty and powerful. That is the top thing. You can do whatever you want if you're the leader of a collaborative space. If you're the owner, oddly enough, you're more of the admin. And an owner cannot create data in the collaborative space. They can only manage it. So, 4 years ago, I made myself owner of a collaborative space, and I was writing IRs saying, hey, this is wrong. The system isn't working. And sure enough, I found out, no, owner does not create. Owner is admin only. What I want to say about this. Restricted responsibilities is a subject that is pretty deep. I'm not going to get into it too far other than to say you can restrict the visibility of a user by setting the restricted user to an organization and not the collaborative space. So it's kind of like another level of access with the restricted level to the organization. Does anyone have any questions on 3D space at this point? Yes?
When you say public, how public is public? Is it just within your...
It's within your tenant. Within your tenant. Yep. Yep. Yes?
Can you talk more about why you said the space should be thought of like a folder?
Because it's hard to manage. You got to look at how you work. If you're a type of company that does projects, what you could do, well, I'm letting the cat out of the bag. Let's get back to that.
I got a question like standard collaborative spaces.
Mm-hmm.
We put in data, so this is about CAD data, this is more on route templates. If we put a route template in there, can the in-work version or the non-release version of that template be used if it's a standard space? Or is the public space where everybody can kind of use what's there? But can they use the in-process versions of data in that, or is it only the release versions of the data?
It's in-work and above. Yep. One more.
For when you assign someone to be the owner of a space, can that be changed after the fact, or is it locked in?
It can be changed. It can be changed. It was for a long time. It couldn't be changed, but now you always have to have an owner. So
No, so like the owner feel that, or there always has to be an owner.
right, has to be an owner of the space.
And the leader as well, or is it just applies?
Just the owner. Yeah. Okay. So so 3D space, build your collaborative spaces. Going to say make them sparingly, because after that you can add on using bookmarks. And the next application we want to get into now is collaborative lifecycle. So collaborative lifecycle, like I said, is a place where you go and you do collaborative or really governance on your data. And it's kind of a one and done sort of application, right? There is no way of organizing data. And come on. And while that loads, I'll also say what you'll notice in 3D space is the lack of any actions, right? There's no maturity, there's no revisioning, there's no branching. There's really none of that. It's not intended to be an application where you're going to do that stuff. Okay, so collaborative lifecycle. I can go from X design, I'll get out of this, go from X design and drag and drop the skateboard right into collaborative lifecycle. And I'm going to show you right now. Go ahead and clear that. X means clear. Again, drag and drop that right in. So I have the standard skateboard, and as you can see, it has multiple branches. It has like narrow deck. All these branches of the original standard skateboard are here, and you know, you can do all of your maturity, and of course revisioning, branching. These are all of the same sort of commands that you're going to find throughout the entire portfolio. It's all the same. It's Anovia products. It's all the same. Regardless of where you go, it's going to behave the same way. They use the same modules, all right? And duplicate. So basically, everything here, you're dragging and dropping into this application, and then you're going ahead and you're doing some type of action, and that's it. You're kind of done, right? The good news is that you do have all of those commands that you can use. And like I said, throughout the entire platform, dragging and dropping is really the easiest way to get data. And you know, you can search if you want. If that's, you can just drag and drop from a search box, or you can just go ahead and open straight from there. But I find it's the easiest way to go ahead and use the platform by dragging and dropping from app to app. So these are all of the functions that are available in collaborative lifecycle. And like I said, these are found throughout the entire product. In addition to that, if any of you get interested in our X apps, you'll also find the lifecycle tab here. It's the same stuff again. It's using the same module again, so all of the applications are basically behaving the same way. Any questions on that? Yes?
Which of the actions you consider specifically for owners? Like the administrative stuff, which would be just an user action?
So if you're able to edit, right, you're able to do lock, unlock. You'll see that, if you have the ability to share, then you can share. Otherwise, it tells you can't do it.
Okay.
Okay, so Bookmark Editor. Bookmark Editor is essentially the application that we use to organize our data. As you can see, it has all of the same commands and then some. These here you can use to upload data into your platform, or simply add existing content from your local drive, create the bookmark. Create a bookmark, and you'll find that to your question earlier, creating bookmarks and managing bookmarks and access to bookmarks is a lot easier than collaborative spaces, a lot easier than collaborative spaces. So if you can imagine the strategy being, you have a very limited amount of collaborative spaces, let's say one, just because. One collaborative space, essentially what you can do is create bookmark structures, hierarchy structures for those project level folders, if you will, right? So essentially, you could have, you know, one collaborative space in a number of bookmarks. Now, there's a strategy to the access, you know, of managing bookmarks, and that is a main point, and sort of requires a little bit of forethought, similar to a SolidWorks PDM vault. You just don't start creating folders in a PDM vault. You kind of say, well, what do we want to do? Well, you know, are we a project company where we work through projects? Are we a type of company that has product lines and we want to organize by product line? You could essentially do the same thing here. The key being the collaborative space needs to be thought of as sort of the base access for the project. Like, you know, these are the people that are actually going to need all of the data in this project. You may have some others that, you know, maybe they're only going to work on one section of the design. In that case, you could simply share the data itself in the bookmark. So it's sort of a strategy that you can come up with that will reduce your need to go and admin the collaborative spaces and have a much lighter time in the bookmark, because bookmarks can be deleted, you know, quite easily. You can just redo them. You get, trust me, I've been down this road. You get many, many collaborative spaces. You're going to have a real hard time managing, you know, getting rid of these collaborative spaces. They don't go away. They're like a tick on your dog. They just do not go away. You can try to delete the data, right? And which is very difficult, because let's face it, in the real world, not in the R&D world, I can try to delete everything because I don't care, because none of my work matters. But in your world, where work actually matters, it's really hard to delete something that's released. And guess what? Once you have something that's released, can't delete it. Now you're talking about managing your collaborative space with the move command. Oh, the move command. And now you're managing it, the move and all of the children. And although they don't have to be all in the same collaborative space, it's a kind of a big job. So again, stick to a few collaborative spaces and really lean on bookmarks. We wanted to get into, yes?
Do you have to have a physical product before you can assign a bookmark, or can you assign a bookmark organization kind of like templates in PDM, so that when physical products are made, they actually can be dropped into the bookmark?
Yeah, that's a good enhancement. Yeah, it's a really good enhancement, yeah.
You can, if you're saving from SolidWorks, you can pick which bookmark to save it to when you
Yeah.
hit the save button. So you usually can't put it in there at that time. You don't have to do it later, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah, all of the applications have the ability to select a bookmark and save into it. Like,
But it has to already be
the bookmark does, yes, yeah. Create, and yeah, you can create at the time and then save into, just the same as sort of Windows folders, to be honest.
Anybody is able to create bookmarks?
But no, bookmark, there's a privilege to be able to, an access privilege to be able to create bookmarks. That's in the admin tool. Yep.
Can you search the bookmarks just so that you don't create another one that makes it?
Yeah, there's a search. There is a search here. You can search bookmarks. You can search the bookmarks in the data in the bookmark. If you go to the root, you can search the bookmarks. Yeah. So let's get into a little bit deeper into this. So you have your credentials that are in your drop down here in preferences. And like I told you before, this is where you need to kind of be on top of things. You don't want to go and set your credentials to space one owner, because you won't be able to create a bookmark, because that's a edit thing you're creating, rather, right? So, you set your credentials here. These bookmarks will be created in those spaces. And that's basically it for as far as the credential of the bookmark. Now, the bookmarks you have the ability to share an actual bookmark, right? Share bookmark, okay, yeah. So this is the actual bookmark. So you think of it like this. You have a bookmark. A bookmark is an object in the database that we just saved to that collaborative space that I just showed you. That's an object in the database that has a connection or relationships to other bookmarks. Simple as that. And then you have data or any objects, so physical product, document object, all those that are linked to that. So I could essentially have a component that is linked in many different bookmarks. So it's like a dynamic link. It's a cool thing. It's much better than like a Windows environment where, back in the day when you used to manage your CAD and you would have a product structure, and then you would say, well, this is before PDM, and you would say, well, I'm going to rename all these files, and I'm going to bring it into this folder structure in Windows. You're copying that over, and then if you're really crappy at it like I was, and I go to the root and open the root, and I find like, oh no, some of my components are now pointing to that folder and not this folder, and so forth. So basically all that goes away because of these dynamic links, right? And so therefore, that object that you created, which is the bookmark, you have different levels of access. You can view, read, edit, and manage. Manage meaning I can share a bookmark to someone else. This last one is an each kind of interesting one. It can add and remove attachments to the bookmark. But these are the main access rights. So you have the bookmark, and then you have the actual object, right? So now I'm sharing the actual object, and this is the tricky part. Well, not tricky, it's not tricky. This is the interesting part. The strategy for you is to think about your team and say, well, hey, Mike doesn't have to necessarily be in this collaborative space. What I can do is I can essentially share a bookmark to him and share the standard deck. So I'm not in the collaborative space and you don't have to manage me. All you have to do at that point is manage the access I have to the standard deck. Maybe when the project is done, Mike gets laid off, and that's the end of it. Now, if you had a collaborative space, I would have access to all the data in that collaborative space in that project. And maybe that's overkill. Maybe I'm not supposed to see this. Maybe I'm a contract employee. So that's kind of the strategy you can use. Now here's another part that's a little interesting. If you're a member of the collaborative space, you get access to every bookmark created in that collaborative space and also the data in the collaborative space. So if you're a member of the collaborative space, you're done. I create a structure, you're a member, we have all the data, you're gonna see the structure I built, and you can use that because you have a certain level of access rights to the collaborative space. Now, if you didn't, you have to do two things. You have to share the bookmark, and you have to share the data, because they're two separate objects is what you're managing at that point.
Mike,
Yes?
is there an easy way to see what data has been shared with the user after you've shared it? Going through this, like with the collaborative space, you have that control center if you're an admin that you can see kind of where they're at.
Yeah.
here, can I find a user to see what all data they have access to?
All data they have access to.
Everything's been shared with them. Full report.
You can get that by creating a report, you know, and that's done through the BI Essentials, essentially. Any other questions?
So it sounds like what
sorry.
you're saying, if a person's an author of a collaborative space, they've got all of that bookmark from.
Mhm. Yep. Every bookmark that's created in that collaborative space. Now, you create bookmarks in other collaborative spaces that user doesn't have the collaborative space access to. That person then needs to go and share that bookmark to complete the structure. And also, the share has to be done from the root. You can't cherry pick. You can't cherry pick. Unfortunately, you can't cherry pick. I know I see the faces over there. He's shaking his head. It's a good enhancement. You can't cherry pick them. You go top down on the share. Yes.
So all these bookmarks that you have here, are these part of a singular collaborative space that you have, or are these like separate?
These are all over the place.
They're like multiple platforms.
These are multiple collaborative spaces, and I can tell you also that on our tenant we use common space. So essentially, it's a space that everyone gets access to when the tenant is spun up. So I'm going to essentially get all of the bookmarks that anyone makes in the common space.
And how does it handle like restricting like duplicate bookmark names, or is that not really something you have to restrict?
It really isn't, yeah.
So like, for instance, like your two like bookmark ones and then two connectors, like are those like in different workspaces, or is it like if you run a search for like bookmark one, would both just come up?
If I ran a search for bookmark one, then you'd get there are multiple objects, so you get multiple instances of the bookmark one.
And like, so those two bookmark ones, are they in the same collaborative space or different?
I don't know, let's see. So that is in common, and this is in common. They're both in common.
Okay, so it really, even if it's in the same collaborative space, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yes.
Can we automate somehow creation of bookmarks to automate like in SolidWorks templates or the project?
Well, yeah, kind of. There's this folder upload right here. So essentially what you can do is upload a folder structure and the data in it, and it will create that in bookmarks, which is as close as we have. I can tell you that what's the name, the data migration tool that you're hearing about is, creates a bookmark structure. So that's that for the SolidWorks PDM to the platform is how that will be done.
After that, we must manage the access, the credentials.
Right. Yep. Yes.
Can physical products have more than one bookmark?
Oh yeah. That's the beauty of this. It's not a one-to-one relationship. Physical product can be linked to any bookmark at all. In fact, you can take this, drag it into Project Skateboard. Same thing here. Drag it into this Project Boom Lift. It's already connected. Yes?
Is there a way to have new revisions of object automatically be assigned to the same bookmark as the previous revision?
It will. It will. Yeah, it will. It'll be the new revision stream will be connected to the bookmark. And essentially, we have See, replaced by latest revision. So I know that the enhancement is to automate this, I understand, but yes, so each revision, familiar with revisioning and platform, each revision has a set stream of objects, right? So revision A.1 has a whole stream of objects, B.1 has a whole stream of objects. It's not PDM, where you're going and you're creating versions and you're stamping an attribute on the version, not that way at all. It's an actual stream of objects that you're managing at that point. Yes?
So we could be a express where we have options to automatically update physical product on the bookmark, because when we have a standard bookmark, the standard components like bolts, nuts, and so on, and when we revision this component, we need to manually update it on the bookmark or edit. So it will be great enhancement when we set options to the my bookmark, like standard component, will automatically update when revision will be created and we have frozen on restate.
Is that a question or enhancement?
No, yes, this is a question for enhancement.
Okay.
So when you share data from a bookmark, if you set the sharing to can you also change the life cycle or not? Or you can just manage the data?
It depends on the level you give them. If it's,
Yes, but you don't want him, you want him just to work on one project that is one bookmark.
yep,
You also want him to change the life cycle.
you don't want him to change the life cycle.
Why not?
I'm asking, I don't know, what's your scenario? You do or you don't?
You do.
Okay.
Yes, but you don't want him to see the other bookmarks. So you don't want him to give the owner leader credentials.
Okay.
So if he have the kinetic option, can he change the life cycle or not?
Yes. Yep. From, again, from root top down. Yes.
Is there a way to add a product into multiple bookmarks at once?
Multiple bookmarks in one,
Is the product and drag and drop into
at once,
bookmarks?
yeah.
Is there a way to-
I don't think so. No. No. One more question?
Can you add another column to that view to be able to see which space it's in, each of these bookmarks?
Yes. So collaborative space is here. These are the all the columns of information that you can add. There they are. Okay. So that's the creation of bookmarks, the managing bookmarks. Like I said, you have the controls that are here to upload this gentleman's favorite, the folder structure. In the CAD applications, you can add a bookmark. Obviously, copy, paste, drag and drop, which is my favorite, is a good way to populate your bookmarks. And then, of course, if you don't want them to be connected, you don't have to worry about delete anymore, right? You just essentially remove the object from the bookmark, and the connection's broken, and that's the end of that. It's quite simple. So here are the long and short of the actual sharing privileges. You know, you can search and can view, search and view, can manage, view, and can reference. Means you can instantiate that into a product. Can edit and grant privileges to others, and read and edit. And then, of course, on content, you can view and can reference and edit and read. And like I said, the bookmarks top down. You have to go ahead and share You have to share the bookmark and the data if you don't have any rights to it. And if you do have 100% collaborative space rights where the bookmark is created, then you're all done. Yes?
I know this might be a simple question, but for the rules for like can read, edit, or anything like that, can the same person be part of like multiple, so long as it doesn't clash?
You're always going to get the highest level.
So like can create and reference attachments, is that considered like the highest level, or is it like, so let's say I want to make someone who can like view and edit, or like can manage, like how does that relate to can add and remove?
So can manage, you would basically be able to edit and grant privileges to others, essentially would be the, you know, if that's your strategy, then that's the one you would give them.
So edit does encompass the can add.
Yeah,
function.
it's a plus.
Plus that.
Yeah. And that's another point that needs to be made. The bookmark and I'm going to say the content sharing is always plus, right? I can't give you edit rights in a collaborative space and then say, well, I just want you to have view rights to this one document in the collaborative space. It's always plus. It's never minus. So it's plus, and the bookmark and the bookmark permissions, it's always plus. It's kind of referred to as plus permissioning. So you're always, it's another strategy you got to kind of think of. Perhaps you want to give people in the collaborative space the lowest level and manage their edit responsibilities through the share of the content. You can do it that way. So, you know, these are the strategies that you can use. I'm hoping you're starting to understand or kind of get the gist that it's a lot easier to do it that way than create a bunch of collaborative spaces, because you're really not using the tools that the platform is supplying us with if you're just doing that. You kind of want to really use what we have and make your life simple going forward. Okay. Just to get a sort of a refresher on what we can do. You know, the maturity, we know what that is, just setting the maturity of the objects. Revisioning, branching. So branching is the ability to be able to go ahead and create sort of like another design, right? And then if it's a structure, through the compare app, we can merge them in the end, kind of neat. Duplicate a structure, which is basically a branch, but behind the scenes, it's the connection, the association, the connection is a little bit different, and that plays a role when you go into other apps like the compare app. It's more of a broken, more of a loosely connected relationship than the branch is. Move, collaborative space. You can move data from one collaborative space to the other one and change user all in the same action, lock and unlock. Of course, this is another term for this is reservation, and SolidWorks PDM world, it's checkout, check-in. And then relations and properties, which has actually been renamed to information. And, you know, we have obviously the delete to delete content. Deleting content is not going to be any easier through Bookmark Editor. It's still going to be under all of the same rules that it was before. For instance, if you have a component that has a parent reference to it, you can't delete. You can't delete, just go, you know, deleting children and parents. They need to be done bottom up and broken before. Search and bookmark, I think I showed you this. This is pretty cool. It's quite fast. Hopefully I have a wheel to show you. Yeah, so wheel. So you can, you know, search very quickly. It's a much faster search than the search here that would be searching your collaborative spaces. So it's more pointed and much faster. So search, and then an indexed and unindexed concept. This is another really good feature that you don't get in a collaborative space. The collaborative space, you add something to a collaborative space. What do you have to do before it shows up in your collaborative space? You have to wait until it indexes, right? And that's indexing is done for performance of the application, the entire tenant wide. We have this index mode here, which is database mode, which is looking directly at the database for that few minutes. You'll notice that in preferences, you have this switch, so automatically switches back because it would make the tenant really inefficient for everyone to be in index mode the entire time, just looking at every every action that's going on in the database. And I think that is about it for Bookmark Editor. Do you have any questions before 11:38? I'm going to go ahead and get right into relations. And then we'll do 5 minutes of questions. Relationships are huge, right, in engineering. So we have this application literally called relations. Relations. And what this is, it allows you to visually see how your data is connected. And you have two views. You have two views. You've got this grid view, which I love, and then you have the you have the graph view, which I'm not a big fan of it. I find it to be a little hard to view, to be honest. Particularly when you get into when you get into really big assemblies and you set your relations to something that is super complicated. So, like I said, one of the main use cases for any engineer is the where used relation, right? So the where used relation is one of the relations you can select. In addition to that, you can put the attributes that you want listed in the columns. So, for instance, a few days ago, I had a material, and I was saying, where the heck is this material being used, right? I was able to go and select the material relations and find out exactly where that material is being used. Very powerful, really, really powerful. In addition to that, you have the design relations, which will show you everything that's going on in the design. Now, in X design, we have the ability to separate, if you will, the instantiation and from, locking the component and locking the positioning. So it's important to know all this, and that's what you get out of design relations and where used. So where used has upstream and the downstream, essentially the where used and contains, and that's how it works. So we have, it's supposed to end at 11:45, I think. Yes. Okay. Any other questions on this topic?
I would like to ask about Bookmark Editor and option duplicate. When we have assembly on the bookmark and we use this option duplicate assembly, we of course duplicate assembly and all parts will be added to this bookmark.
Okay?
You have options to load them. Or I want to duplicate only one.
I understand, and you want to assign the bookmark at the time that you do, yeah, definitely need to do that. Any other questions? Yes?
Just to confirm, the sub-levels of bookmarks, like, there's no limit to how many?
No limit, no limits to bookmarks, yep. All, they're just objects in the database connected. In fact, you'll see that another type of relation is the bookmark relation. So you can get, there is a bookmark relation, I'm not lying to you. You can get essentially what bookmarks the object is associated to. Okay, yes?
Let's say I have part of a design that is IP protected,
Mm-hmm.
and I were to make a separate collaborative space for the IP protected designs.
Yeah,
And then I would have a separate like product space where all the other stuff of the design is located at.
yeah.
If I then share a total design with someone who does not have rights to the protected IP space, will they see in the Bookmark Editor or in the viewer, for example, will they see the IP protected objects?
So, like you said, they don't have access to the collaborative space?
Correct.
They're only going to see what you give them, what you share with them. So you can share the object in itself. In that case, they're going to find it through search, right? You can find, and also you could share the bookmark. In that case, from the root down, you'll have the structure, which would be easier on the person, right? Yeah. And, you know, bookmarks, like all other objects in the database, have a maturity. So they're, you know, private maturity, no one sees your bookmarks. So you can make a structure, and then later on, when you're ready to really use it, you can put it into work, and then everyone can see your bookmarks. It's another way of kind of stopping people from seeing things too soon. Yes?
So, going on that same thing, if a collaborative space keeps growing, you keep building more assemblies, more parts, and then you got a project manager that's just looking at things in the bookmark area, you have to manage that each time and say, okay, they need to be able to see this bookmark, and those need to be created for them to see that as the collaborative space items grow. So someone's got to continuously manage that potentially.
Somebody has to manage that, yeah. Yeah. You have to, I mean, you have to, that's the strategy, right?
Yeah.
You have to give access somehow. We just can't say, well, you know, you're going to get this. So they're either collaborative space, in the collaborative space for good, or they're a certain special type of person that we only want to give them certain data at a certain time on a certain project. Be better to do it the other way, which is the bookmark. If they're a lead engineer that's always going to work on this project forever, okay, it really doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense not to have them in the collaborative space, because they can get your collaborative space data and the bookmarks that are created in that collaborative space. They have everything. You're done.
Yeah.
You know, it's the strategy of limiting that list so you don't have to go back and take people out of the collaborative space and manage that collaborative space, and, you know, have people get access to data that they shouldn't have by mistake.
Yeah.
That's essentially it. Okay, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time.